Yeah, by the way, we are recording in about 5 seconds.
And so that everybody knows it's this mic and it works really well. So if we have a conversation, especially close by, that's a fair warning. You can talk. It's not to tell you not to, but just know that's listening.
So, well, that's when I could unmute. I don't think that only unmutes, I guess, what we're hearing. So I hope you did it right.
No, this is like a recording right now.
Why not?
He said just hit go live.
We did.
And it's
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right.
You are the welcome here.
Thank you all so much for coming, and really appreciate that you prioritize this meeting. This is a hard subject, and we're all very grateful that you all are here to help us navigate. We're on this journey together as the Mapleton community family that we are. So I feel like it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. It's clear that everyone's here because we care. All of us care. We care about the kids, and we care about the school, and we've been through a lot together. We've been through the downturn in the timber industry and the shrinking of our school population. We've been through fire. We've all been touched by death and have been in community, in memorials together. We indeed are a family. So it's not an us and them. We might have different opinions about how to go about certain aspects of the way we run the school. But that's like a family too. You don't agree with your sister and your brother about every little thing. So, yeah, appreciate you being here. Oh, one thing I have to say, I was just tuned in by Trace that it's Administrators Day. Did anybody know that?
What?
Well, I didn't know that. So
Administrator Assistant Day. Administrator Assistant. So shout out to.
Well, my calendar said Administrators Professionals Day, National
Oh.
Professionals Day. No apostrophe in professional.
Still.
Shout out to, or professional status, but shout out to Carly and Jamie who keep the district running.
Oh, yeah. We're going to, thank you. We're going to stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Liz. Who's our facilitator for this.
Okay, welcome, thank you. And we'll talk about a few housekeeping things. First of all, just really boring, basic housekeeping things. There's one restroom in the hall, and as Mizu's pointed out, it is a single use. The lock is kind of funny. Knock on the external door before you go in. I know this is the exciting thing you came here to talk about, but just letting you know that's there if you need to use it. There's also beverages provided by the school coffee shop. I've heard amazing things about the tea that is right there. So that's back there, and snacks. Please help, take care of yourself, do what you need to. On that, is there anything you wanted to
add? I noticed that some of you are like in the direct sun, and so just feel free to move your chairs around or whatever. There's no pull down thing on that window, and I'm sorry. So just move to make yourself comfortable. Okay.
All right, in terms of other housekeeping things, the agenda is here. We're in these portions of it, the welcome, housekeeping, and all that stuff. Then there's going to be a brief time addressing previous frequently asked questions and brief review of the process, and then we will open for verbal public comment. Periodically throughout the verbal public comment, we will be stopping for a break for people to step out and do what they need to, but we'll also allow the folks up here to be able to collectively think about clarifying questions they might want to ask, so that because they definitely want to make sure they're understanding what you have to say and listening, truly listening. And also, if there's a repeat question or a repeat thing that's coming up and there's information that Sue has that can easily and quickly address it, then Sue will be able to address that. So that'll be something that we break every so often amongst the speakers to do that. And then at the end, Michelle will close us out, and hopefully we'll get people out of here at 8. Last time we got people out about 15 minutes late. There's a productive conversation the last 15 minutes, so we just kind of let it roll. And hopefully we can get you out pretty close to that time to respect your time. Speaking of that, some community keeping norms. I know that you are all wonderful members of this community and want to work on
Good catch, Kevin.
Is that a body or was that
In the theater world, we call that upstaging.
I think that. Yeah, you owe me forever.
Hey Kevin, nice catch.
Yes, Kevin. Kevin for the win.
Good job, all of you. That was well timed in many ways. All right. Please respect yourself. If you need to step out, whatever you need to do, and respect others. Try to default to inquiry over assumption and judgment, mindful of power, especially ourselves, mindful of power connection, other people's safety. Respect others' time to share or speak, respect the shared experience, reflect on intent versus impact. I know you can all read this, but just because it's light, I'm going to try to read it quickly for people. We are all learning and allow for the process to take place. And in terms of that process to take place, I just want to review. The board this isn't a vote. If there's X number of people for yay and X number of people for nay and X number of people for the middle or something, it's not that. It's the board is hearing everything that people are sharing at the 10 o'clock and at the 6 o'clock, and that will become part of the board packet that is public document along with the written information that's supplied, and the board will be discussing it, not here. They're not debating here. The board won't debate amongst each other. They will do that at a subsequent regular board meeting and using the material, the information that was shared to here. Did I get that right? Steal anyone's thunder or get that right? Anything else?
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Is the recording that's taking place now, will that be a public?
It's live streaming and
available?
will be on YouTube.
Okay.
Yep, and those, right now, those links are on right when you land on the website, it's got those links right now, and then it goes into the board, packet.
And instead of having one big meeting, we did divide it so that people could show up in the morning that worked for their schedule, and you folks are here now, but you missed the morning session. So that is recorded, and it would be helpful for you to understand the community that we live in to see that one as well.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
People who came to the 10 a.m. and didn't stick around, or, it would be asking a lot for people to be above. Thank you to those who are, but you can encourage them to watch this one as well. And I'm trying to think of anything else with the housekeeping before I turn this over. Sorry, I thought I heard. And by the way, I'm Liz Bulmer-Buell. I previously worked in this community with the Watershed Council. My husband was a teacher here for 13 years, and I'm excited to be, excited is an interesting word. It's an honor to be asked back to facilitate at various times, various difficult conversations for the district and for other community groups. And so I appreciate this opportunity and an opportunity to work with an awesome community. And with that, I think we will, if there's anything else, I'll turn it over to Sue.
All right, so there's two handouts that hopefully you all have. One is inclusion laws and policies, and the other is a sample elementary school schedule. And we're sharing these in response to commonly asked questions from community members. And so I did go much deeper into this document this morning, and the feedback was we need more time for public comment. So I'm going to go a lot faster through this today. But if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer specifics and/or if you watch the other recording, I go deeper into this. What this does is break down federal, state, and then district level laws and policies for that are connected to protections for gender diverse students. And so on the front page are federal level, the key one being Title IX, some constitutional protections, and then the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And then if you look below that where it says Oregon level, there are links to this. I'm going to post this online so you can click into the links as well. I know they don't work on a paper copy. So that first one is the Oregon State LGBTQ student plan that is provided by the state and lays out supports and requirements for supporting our LGBTQ students. And then there's a number of laws and school requirements connected, including Oregon Civil Rights Law. The point of that is that gender diverse students are included in all of the protected classes, including sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, as well as race, color, religion, national origin, marital status, age, or disability. There's connections here to the Human Sexuality Education Plan. I'll speak to that in a second. Menstrual Dignity Act that came up as a question in a previous board meeting. And this has links to the requirements there. What I want to share to everybody is what the bathrooms look like at elementary, and every classroom has its own bathroom that is used by all of the students in the classroom. So they're, in essence, they're gender neutral bathrooms for each classroom in there, and they're single use. At the middle school, high school, we have 2 multi-use bathrooms, and then 2 locker rooms, and then as well as a single-use bathroom near the gymnasium that is gender neutral, and anybody who needs to use it can use it. Let's see. Every Student Belongs was discussed in a prior board meeting, which is a state requirement, both for preventing bias incidents, but requiring a process for reporting bullying, harassment, and bias. And on our campus, we have blue forms for that. The Oregon Safe Schools Act has another layer of student reporting that students can report bullying, harassment, and school threats. So that gets used in a lot of different ways. And then lastly, the suicide prevention, intervention, and post-prevention. Every district has a plan there. On the last page there, the 3 I want to speak to for Mapleton level. And I'll start from the bottom up since I was just talking about the third one. So we have completed and written our suicide prevention, intervention, and post-prevention plan, and it's available on our website under the parents drop-down. It's like a 58-page document, which most people don't want to sit and read. I use it a lot. I think the important part is there's tools in there for how we train, how we prevent suicidality, and through relationships and all the positive programming on our campus, and then what we do in response to suicide ideation. And hopefully we never need this, but there is all the tools in the case of completed suicide. So it's there. It's something all schools have done, and we've had support from county resources for developing that. In terms of why it's included in gender inclusion laws and policies, in it there's specific attention to supporting groups with higher rates of suicide and culturally diverse groups. And there's some attention in elements through there with connection to gender diverse students. The other two, the Human Sexuality Education Plan lays out as a district how we teach sex education. When I got here, I said, "Where's the plan?" And it's not in writing. And so we self-report for Division 22 and say, "Hey, we have or don't have these things," and this is on our list of things to get into compliance as a district. This will include a public process with input and community input, feedback, those types of things through that process. Summer and likely into fall. The Division 22 says it has to be done by August 24. I told ODE, hey, we're working on this process. Even these conversations are part of starting this, and we'll go as fast as we can, but we're not going to rush just to meet a deadline on that. And then second, the health instructional materials adoption. Each subject, so English language arts, math, science, and so on, and health, go through a 7-year adoption process. And next year, the 24-25 school year is health instructional materials adoption. And to me, it makes a lot of sense to pair that with the Human Sexuality Education Plan so that those are reinforcing each other. Obviously, recognizing health is much larger than just sex education, but that is an important component of it. And so in that same vein, we'll have community input and feedback connected to the instructional materials that we adopt. I'm going to stop there on that. And then the other document, one of the questions we got was how, yeah, I know, thank you, Janet. I appreciate it.
Hold it up.
Yeah, it is the schedule looking Excel or Google sheet. And one of the questions we got was, what does a sample day for elementary school students look like? And just that context within like, what's the scope of conversations about gender identity and gender inclusion? And you can see there, like, we're teaching English language, somebody asked earlier, ELA, English language arts, math, science and social studies. You'll see themed studies that often rotate the science and social studies components. And then all of our K-6 students cycle through a set of electives, or we call them specials, that include art, SEL, social emotional learning, where'd they go?
Sign language.
Sign language, thank you. All students get sign language and library and computers. So hopefully people can see like what a sample day looks like. And I talked to a parent in a hallway conversation a couple weeks ago, just about like scope of this conversation and how big is any conversation around gender inclusion, and we're talking minimal. So I offer that as our schedule. So. The one other thing that I want to share, and this didn't come up till the end of the meeting last time, but upon reflection, I think just what I did talk about was language, and that, like, especially in terms of gender identity, like, language is really hard, and it's shifting on us sometimes faster than we can, like, process and make sense of and keep up with, which makes it even harder to feel like we're doing the right thing, right? And I just want to acknowledge in here today when people share out, we're going to use different language, and we might get it right sometimes, and we might try and mess up, and like just giving each other the space to practice and use that language together, and not make assumptions about people if they use language that we're not used to. I do want to define a couple terms that later were asked after the fact and realized that matters. So One of the conversations is that when we talk about gender inclusion, and gender specifically, that's within a set of a couple of different things. So biological sex, right? The sex that we are born, often male, female, but they're also intersex, and sometimes chromosomal like differences, right? Is biological sex. There's also gender, which are like the cultural norms, expectations there. I feel prepared right now. And then gender identity is how people feel inside in terms of their gender. So there's gender, kind of the outside perspective, and gender identity, kind of that internal feel. And then there's sexual orientation, right? And sexual orientation is who we're attracted to, right? And those four things get conflated a lot, and in really sometimes confusing ways where we're having a discussion and we're actually talking about two different things, and sometimes in ways where our own assumptions are challenged of what we think. I was talking to a parent the other day that said something to the point of my students aren't sexual beings, and they're all ages, and but their gender is different than that. And when we had that conversation and understood what we were talking about, it was like, oh yeah, we're totally saying the same thing. We're not talking about young students as sexual beings when we're talking about gender. So I want to acknowledge that in the room. The one, you might hear cisgender and transgender, and cisgender is when your internal gender aligns with kind of that expected gender expectations and biological sex, and transgender can mean that it doesn't align, and or that you're going through a process, and that's of changing, and that's sometimes confusing, that just because people identify as transgender doesn't mean that they're in the process of changing their gender. So I'll stop there. Is that helpful?
Thank you for that information. I want to keep us on schedule. The next thing, I'm going to hand out some forms. I'm sorry, I should warn you. I'm going to hand out some forms. And these are optional. Some people work better in written form. Some people want to both talk and make submitted written comment. And this is to enable people to communicate in the way you best, sorry, I keep giving you this reset. For you to be able to communicate in the way that you best see fit. There's writing utensils going around. You can turn these in today. You can turn them in any, I think there'll be a timeline that is announced, a deadline that's announced before the next board meeting, so they can be included in board packets. And you can also just type up a letter, submit comment any number of ways. These are just some prompts to get conversation going, and the prompts were reviewed to try to be non-leading and to work for a variety of perspectives. So those are there, that's circulating. If you want to work on them while you're here, great. If you want to take them home, great. And we will get started. We're going to do 4 minutes per person, and our first, I'll tell the first 2 people, Ray, you're gonna be first, if that works. Shannon, you're second, and I'll cue each person, the next person, and once in a while things get a little distracting, and if I forget to cue you, I apologize, and I'll try to give you a few seconds of me babbling to give you a second to gather and get ready.
Liz,
but
there are clipboards. If you want to write something in now while you're here and stuff, there are clipboards over there, so you can just ask for one or go grab one if you want.
Anyone want me to hand them a clipboard right now before Ray gets started? We're not wrestling.
Can I get one of those prompt sheets? It wouldn't come up on the computer when I got it.
And let's have, if folks are comfortable, let's have the person who is speaking just stand in their place. Does that work for everybody? All right, so Ray, you are on.
Okay, I guess it's appropriate I do this first. I've spent
Thank you. Please say your name, your connection to the district.
Ray Kenny, I've had kids and grandkids going through this school forever, it seems like, but some of you probably have a lot longer history than I do. But I'm always very concerned about the health of all of the children and what affects that. And since the 40s and 50s, we've created 80 to 90,000 different chemicals that weren't present back then. And those chemicals are spread around the world, and they're contaminating all of our bodies to varying degrees. And the research I've been reading has been very insistent that hormonal changes can be an effect of some of those exposures that we have. All of us have. And, you know, the hormones really affect how you feel about yourself and your physiology and how your physiology operates. And it's going to make us all a little bit different from everybody else. And I respect that, and it's the reality that I feel that we all have to deal with. And it's not going to be easy for a lot of people to deal with it. And so I think it's a failing on our ability to educate society about how to prevent some of this contamination and these adverse effects that may happen, just so we can have beneficial products to spread around the world and, you know, and use. But at any rate, I just wanted to mention that we're all different a little bit, and a lot of our hormones are affected.
Thank you, Ray. And also, we're not supposed to clap after anyone, just so there's no clapping or cheering. A heads up on that. I forgot to say it earlier.
I didn't hear the clapping.
Thank you, Ray. You're a great one to start with yours. Thank you. And next, Shannon, and then Lou, you're queued up after that.
Well, I wasn't exactly sure I was going to say anything, but I like the opportunity. I'm Shannon Ross. I had 2 children go through the school district here, and a granddaughter in the school now. I grew up in a diverse community and far away from Mapleton, and multicultural basically. And I came to Oregon and was kind of surprised at, you know, the limits that I felt I had not been exposed to, you know, more of a monoculture. I just appreciate diversity, and I understand that we are all facing big changes in our world. Plus, we also all have a lot of similar things that happen to us, like a pandemic, and we may react to it or relate to it differently. But it affects all of us. We are all in the human family. And, you know, there are changes, there are things that, I mean, I've experienced that I think, oh, I'm not ready for that. And I think it's scary. It's mysterious. You know, I used to say, I don't like the mystery. I want to know exactly what's going to happen and what we're supposed to be doing. So just in general, I feel like I love this community. My kids came here and came to school here, and there might have been some adversity, but they all my 2 kids got along with everybody and, you know, learned a lot, and were always open to their friends and their community. I think that this is an amazing community, and I want to respect everybody. I want everyone to listen to each other, understand that we're all being affected by these things, and listening and being open and questioning is all real important. But I really appreciate how this process is happening now, and I understand it's emotional, and it's scary. And there's things people are just not ready for, you know, things I'm not ready for necessarily, but I want to talk about it. I want to be open to hearing what other people are worried about. And I really appreciate what Ray said, you know, reading recently, you know, that puberty is happening way earlier in children these days than it did in my generation, in our generation. So I don't have anything specific except that I appreciate that we now have some guidelines to help us process the differences that kids are facing, you know, the different challenges. We're all challenged by this time. So it's very general. I appreciate being here, and I really love this community. I want to see it thrive.
Thank you. Lou is next, and then Sean Walker after Lou.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lou. I teach science at the middle school, high school. I have one kid who graduated here. I have two kids who are currently in school. I'm married to a school board member, and I live in Denver. Did I miss anything? I'm sure I missed something. So I have two things I want to say. One kind of generally as a community member, and then I also want to speak as a teacher. And I think the thing for me as a community member is that as long as I've been involved with the school, I've been really afraid of national politics coming through the school, because national politics are about division and winning and losing, and you can't win without somebody else losing. And like, I love this school, and I love this community, and everything that's great about this place comes from us working together. And so I'm hopeful that from this conversation, we can actually listen and not just talk. Because if we end up divided, someone's going to lose, and someone loses, everybody loses. Okay, sorry. I also wanted to speak as a teacher and kind of give a little insight to what it's like to be a teacher in school. I think there's a lot of mystery around what that experience is like. And, you know, it's something that I've given my life to. And I come here every day as a servant to the community and to the students. And I want to do the very best I can for each and every kid that comes to my door. And so I just want to give you some examples of what that might look like. So I'm a science teacher. I teach evolution. And that's a difficult subject for some families. And when I know that I have a family that has a hard time, that's going to be difficult for that family, I reach out to them and just let them know, hey, this is what I'm covering. I meet with the parent if the parent wants to meet with me. I'll go over the curriculum. I'll talk them through like what I'm talking about. And you know, if I have a kid who I know speaks Spanish at home, I'm going to speak as much Spanish with that kid as I can. And it doesn't have to be big stuff, right? It can be little stuff. Like this morning, I had 10 extra minutes with a kid, and we like talked about PVs and like all the accidents that we'd ever had with the PV. And like, it's just finding a way. That's a logging tool, by the way. It's just like finding a way to like connect with the kids and like see them for who they are. And when it comes to like gender inclusive language, it's not on me to decide what's right or wrong for a kid. It's for me to be there and respect that kid and support them in the best way that I can. So if a kid asks me to refer to them as they, them, I'm gonna refer to them as they, them. In the same way that I'm gonna respect a kid who has Christian beliefs, you know, like Mies and I coach basketball, and like we try not to schedule stuff on Sundays because we know that's hard for families. And so like that, I think, I wouldn't say that I'm perfect, I know I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm exceptional either. I think that like all the teachers in the building are trying to do that. And That's my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. All right, Sean's next, and then Forrest is queued up.
Okay, first of all, this is like, I cannot talk in front of people. I'll cry even if I'm not talking about something important, so. This is sweet, like really big for me, I can't stand up good. So, this is actually from my daughter, and I'm gonna try to read it. She wrote it today after she came to the meeting. Okay. Dear Mapleton School Board and Community, I'm writing this letter in regards to voice my opinion as a Mapleton Legacy High School student. I would like to start off by saying my name is Avery Walker and I am a sophomore in high school and I'm a straight Christian girl. I am one of very few females in our school who fit into to all three of these categories. To me, that is a little heartbreaking. There are times that I feel ignored and even silenced, and there are the times that I am asked about my opinion on religion, gender, and politics, but then I get scared because I don't want to be hated or labeled in a negative way, where I will be seen differently or as a bad person. When in reality, I'm just part of an extremely small minority of this generation. So I sit aside quiet and with so many thoughts and opinions. I was raised in a Christian household and have gone to public school in Mapleton since kindergarten. I have 4 other siblings that have gone here before me. Therefore, I have seen the changes and challenges that our school has faced in the 11 plus years that me and my family have been here. My grandparents and father went to school here and know what the old Mapleton was like, which is nothing close to what it is now. I have multiple peers in my life that are a part of the LGBTQ community. I would do anything for them to make sure they are safe and comfortable. I support them. However, that does not mean I believe in their decisions. And I most certainly do not believe in transgenderism. That is where I draw the line. I say this not to put my peers or any other person of the LGBTQ community down, but to simply let my opinions finally be heard. I have a freedom of speech just like any other American in our country. I will no longer be afraid to speak up and voice my opinion. I believe we should be kind to all of God's creation, for that is how He created us to be. That saying, this is not solely about Christianity or any religion or any sort. This is about the corrupt school system that we're welcoming one-sided agendas that are being toxically normalized in our small school district. This needs to be fixed. However, we are not going to fix this by having one group of people overrule the other. We have to come together and civilly discuss how we feel and how we are going to fix the problem at hand, which is what we are doing. Although we have to know the difference between going through the motions and putting things in motion. Because if we don't, all of this tension and work will be for nothing, and nothing will get done. I will end by asking these questions. When and where do we draw the line? It's almost done. Can I just finish the questions or you want me to stop?
Sure. I think it's like 2 more questions, right? And this got emailed to me. Go ahead and finish it.
You say that want the people of the LGBT community to feel safe and comfortable, but what about the minority of kids like me who don't feel safe or comfortable around this type of agenda? Are we not as important? Do we matter? Thank you for reading and listening. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next is Forrest. I'm trying to read handwriting.
Forrest, yeah.
Okay. And after that is about 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yep.
All right, that's pretty tough. I've lived in this area since 2009. I've been an Oregonian since 1980. I had the opportunity to teach English in China for 3 years, from 99 to 2002. I worked in the Vancouver School District in Washington for 3 years, and I also got to teach here, or was an educator here at the LEAF program under Lauren Hess. And my wife's 2 children graduated from this school, and I was in their life when they were going through this school here. So this whole gender inclusivity thing, on the surface, I really do understand it, and as an American, I do support that everyone should have as much liberty as possible to be whoever they want. I can also say in my life, I was raised by parents who basically had no morals, and they let me kind of do whatever I wanted to do. And I look back at my life, and I see that I created all kinds of problems for myself throughout my life. And it was when I came to a place of realizing that there's actual fundamental reality, and that there are things that are more deep than just what I feel about them. There's truth. And I believe that what we're doing with our children by just opening up this whole realm is a Pandora's box. And kids are very suggestible. And I think we're creating this whole reality for them. And they don't have the capacity, the mental capacity to really understand this. I feel like children need kind of more structure, and that especially in this world, I agree with what Ray said. I totally believe that there's a lot of contaminants in our environment that are creating a lot of challenges. I think chromosomes and stuff are being messed up. I think a lot of children are trying to figure out who they are. And I just don't really think the school district is the place for that to happen. And also, I lived on Alpha Farm for several years, and I was driven off Alpha Farm by LGBTQ people because I wasn't one of them, you know. And I tried to use their pronouns, I tried to do it their way, and they basically were just against me because I wasn't in that world with them. And so I don't see this as protecting people from bullying. I see this as creating a whole new realm of bullying. And where it's going with the whole like boys playing girls sports and boys just want to walk into a girl's bathroom, like that, it's just such a slippery slope. So I understand on the surface level this like talk of like, let's accept people for who they are. And on a level, there's a lot I can support in that. But what I'm seeing happening is our culture is just dissolving, and this country is in a lot of trouble, and I just feel like this is the direction we're going, is just to kind of open this world up for children to think. I mean, we had a girl come to release time last year who said she was a fish. She had learned in school that she could identify as a fish, you know what I mean? This is strange. This is strange, and I think that we should really think about this, and I would like to know, where is this coming from? Is this coming from the people, or is this coming from the national government, you know, down upon us? And then where is it coming from beyond the government? From what I've figured out, this is not a good thing, and I think we should really hold off and see what's really going on before we just get wholesale into this. Thank you.
Yvette next, and then Kevin, you're queued up.
Ready.
Oh, okay. All right, then after Kevin is,
Oh, tonight? No, thank you for allowing me.
You're queued up.
Oh, I'm queued up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed that too.
That gives me a minute.
He's just ready to go all the time.
Yeah, that's I couldn't remember which one it was.
No, yeah, that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
I also
that's
would
why I was
like to not stand up, kind of like Sean, I do not like talking about kind of people, so I apologize if I stumble on my words. I agree with a lot of what that gentleman just said. Yvette Symington, I live in Deadwood. My children went here, all of my husband's family went here, graduated from here. I've been in the school district for 18 years on the elementary side as an EA. I love it here. Sorry. I feel a lot how Avery felt even as an adult with our little community on the elementary side. Sometimes you feel like if you say the wrong thing, people are going to be judging or whatever. So I go with what I know you as. I've never been asked to call somebody something different, so I don't know how I would react to that or how I would feel about that. I do believe when you are born, you are a man or you are a woman. I know people who are gay. I grown up with people, like worked with them and everything, and I have no problem at all with that. Don't shove it in my face, because I don't shove my person in your face and what I do and what I don't like, oh, I'm a female, whatever. I don't do that. And I don't think anybody should, but there are some people that do. One of my biggest things with everything is how we're going to keep our kids safe when they come to this side. When you've got girls wanting to be little boys going into that locker room with those boys. I have a nephew who goes to this school, and I had a conversation with him, and I asked him, how would you feel? And he said he would be extremely uncomfortable. And I don't think that that's right. I don't think that is a male bathroom. This person is born a female. She does not have a penis. She should not be in that bathroom. Vice versa for the girls. There should be no boys that want to be little girls go into that bathroom. It should be girls in here. If you have a vagina, you are in here. If you have a penis, you are in here. There's too many things that could happen. And especially like I feel like more with like the little boys, unfortunately, because they're male. Like if a girl was in there and anything happened and that girl wanted to say, oh, he touched me or something, whatever it may be, it's his word against hers. But most of the time they're gonna go with the girl. In my experience. Anyhow, I don't like the way things are going, the direction things are going. I try to respect everybody, and
Thank you. And
Trace, yeah, sorry.
Hold on one second.
Again?
Jesse, can't win. Jesse, you're queued up, and then we'll go for a break after that. And if additional people come in and want to sign up, please come and find me as soon as possible. All right, now you can talk.
Forgive my false start, and I lost track of time. I didn't realize I didn't have the opportunity so quickly. Thank you, I'm Trace Tucker. I'm married to Amber Tucker. I'm friends with all of you in the room. And I'm really honored to know all of you. And it's really great to watch you together discussing this. Is a tough topic. Every school, every place is experiencing it to a degree. I think probably the population of this school makes it like feel concentrated, absolutely concentrated. And it's nice what everyone is really on the same team. Everyone wants all the best for. So Avery's letter was super profound, well written. Kudos to her, Avery. And it's to see another person feel, and of course we all feel like the students are the ones that are really feeling the brunt of all this. They are adaptable. They will be fine. And sometimes if we just get out of their way, but we can't always, as a school district, you can't just, let it run amok and let anarchy settle down. Anyway, I suppose that's all I wanted to say, really. I'm enjoying listening to the evolution of this conversation, and I know you'll come to a very good medium or a good well-being. What I love about Mapleton is the cohesiveness and the support that the community gives to the school no matter what. And I've seen the school have hard times, and I'm from Florida originally, but I've been here since to Florence. So you're never really in Mapleton unless you're but I love, I feel like I'm married in really well. And, I also, by the way, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 20-something years. Science Law, subbing here, enjoyed that. I let kids use their phone too much apparently. But I love the kids here a lot. I did the Boys and Girls Club here about 20-something years ago. I have my own kids I've raised up. I now teach incarcerated youth at Camp Florence. I get a lot of the dynamic of kids that have gone through tough times. I did too. Anyway, I'm not going to solve any riddles. And anyway, I wish everyone the best. I'm in it too for the long haul for all of us, and I know it's going to be great. I also just love and support the kids, and it's really great to watch them grow up in such a beautiful place. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Jesse, you're on, and then we'll take a break.
I was hoping I'd go later so I could go pass or everybody else will speak. My name is Jesse Beers, Jesse Beers Keenan. I'm a local, you'd say. On my dad's side, they came over in the 1880s after fighting in the Civil War on the north side, settled up in Creek away from people, hence not wanting to speak either. But, and then on my mom's side, very Chausla, Saisla, Morankwa people, more in the Gardner area, and moved into Saisla area when the reservation became a thing in the 1800s. Sa'a is the individual non-binary word in Saisla, because that was a thing back then too. But, I didn't have anything to say really, other than all I really wanted to say is that, had lots of family, obviously, that went here, and before that, Indian Creek School, other places. Grandpa started going to school here when he was a sophomore, and he always said that the Mapleton kids thought they were tough, and they found out they weren't. But something that I really appreciated about the school when I went here, and the reason I really wanted our kids to come here, was that it is such a small community and small school, that no matter who you are, if you click up, if you decide you don't want to be, when I was in school, it was like hicks and hippies and preppies and stuff, and if you didn't want to be a friend with them or whatever, then you got no friends, and you just had to kind of get together, get along, work with each other, no matter what your differences are. I have kids that go here today, as I mentioned, and also Mary is my wife, so conflict of interest.
The kids are a conflict of interest?
No,
There you are.
Speaking at this is a conflict of interest, but, I have kids that go here, and talking to them, how do you feel about this going on or what, and it's just like, people do things like that or have those lives, that's fine with me. I respect them as long as they're not trying to make me be different than what I am, which is all they're asking for, in my view, is that, they just want to be the people they are. And when, this sounds like a new thing, I guess, but it's been happening for a long time. It's just a small population, and as we progress in our society, smaller and smaller populations feel the ability to come out of their areas and be represented and held up in their communities. And I don't see that as necessarily a negative thing. I see that as a positive thing. In the past, you know, there were times that those things happened and people got pushed to the side. And so I'm just here to also support the kids and whatever they do. And that's past my time, so.
Thank you. Thank you all who have spoken so far for your time, and thank you for those who have signed up. We're going to take an approximately 5-minute break. Last time the line for the bathroom let it to be a little bit longer, so we're going to take a break. We'll gather back as appropriate, and then we'll hear from the rest of the people who signed up. And if you haven't signed up and you want to sign up, I know that a couple people walked in, please see me to get on the list. And so please take a break. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It's not mine.
For clarifying questions, not statements. Is there a need for clarifying questions, or was there information requested that we need to supply?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm hearing, as I do with my kids, you can do this, or this. Are we all? Okay. Sue, anything with you? Okay, all right. Continue.
It's like a raspberry. It's like a tazo, like raspberry. I don't know. It's good. I hope not. Otherwise, I will be not sleeping tonight.
Hello. You just teleported here, or I didn't see you. And
It's been a great day.
like when my chair. Like my Dane's wife?
It's like they were just surprised where that was. Oh, they just need to show that. Oh, all day. Wait,
It's not, yeah, it's like, there's like lemonade. There's oatmeal.
If people have to go to the restroom and that line is too long, I will take you up to the school to more fancy.
Oh, yes, okay. Louis' sister. Yeah. Yeah. It is. So I'll be honest, when they get to my grade, it's kind of like if I pick my kids to fight, like the kids that want to go, like need to go, probably don't want to go, and then you're just fighting with them all the time to go. So I usually just ask my class, like,
So what happens is that the parents are like,
yeah. I think that's the other three though, like, are, right, where they should, like, they're the audience that you
Yeah, one of my favorite. Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is his too.
Good, good.
So, can you,
Yeah, I know, Angela's probably the outlier.
can you have these Lynn?
That's how we'll bring everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like he's here, and he's here.
Yes, when the
Yeah, I really think it's Well, and in the past, I've been like, oh, this kid and this kid should go, and then like, I don't go, and yeah, which like, it's just like, for everybody involved, so that's what I'm saying. I wanna be there, makes it more fun for you. Thank you.
Yes, it does. They have pictures and then practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, and I feel like a whole lot of.
This might end up always done this, but just as
You know, it's.
Well, I'm good. This is my 8th year, but I actually thought I'd be here like 2, and then, yeah. You never know what that's gonna do. Yeah. I live in Florida, but I like, I got my family I figured I was like, when I moved down here, I was like, I think I need like a bigger town, and there was like this high place to live here. I mean, so that. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Yeah, I've asked that a lot. Figure it out, let me know. I don't know. Well, but yeah, I know, I've always thought, like, I bought a house 20 years ago, and I've always thought, like, someday it'd be nice to, like, maybe get another one or something, and open that up, and so, like, hey, I got a house, get a teacher, or, you know, like, rent it out for a I just always think that wherever you go, like every I always said I should have that train, Mapleton train, so like, maybe went in, and I was like, well, just be busy. Yeah, right. Just go across the line.
Last year, my first sixth graders graduated. I'm old. Yeah, hopefully.
Who has to drive back to Mapleton and stay? You know, that's
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I'm like, sweet. That's like the last comments. It was spread out until that's needed it based on so you know my actually, I'll just stick my pen out and see how many people are.
This reminds me of Jada used to say gymnastics. And I was like, gymnastics? Where did you take gymnastics? I said, just? And she's like, ah! It just reminded me of her. Yes. Very I know. Like you have a, where she would say, but actually,
That's very smart. We're gonna get people's attention back here. All right. So we'll be going back to the verbal public comment. Jan, I already let you know, you'll be first, and after Jan, Crystal Littlewood will be next. So, Jen, you got the floor.
I can stand up because I have to. I wrote something down quite a while ago, and so I thought I would read it, and I'll probably embellish it on, but it'll be kind of short. So I'm Jan Kinney. I'm Mizu's mother. There she is. And both of my kids, both raised and married to Ray. We were both born and raised in Oregon, in Eugene, and we moved to Deadwood in 1980s, the early 1980s, late 70s, early 80s. And so both of our children went to school here in Mapleton, and then of course my 3 grandkids are going to school here. And so that's why I say in the first sentence, both our children went to school in Mapleton, K through 12. And in that era, there was great diversity. It was cultural diversity. It wasn't, and it was, we managed this by trying to treat everyone with tolerance and respect. Was it always easy? Hell no. It really wasn't. But the rewards were great. I didn't write that. The rewards were great. To this day, it has provided us as a family with the opportunity to relate to the general community as good neighbors. Now our grandchildren are in Mapleton. They are the living legacy of tolerance and respect in this community. I trust this legacy will continue into the next generation, and all of our children will have the opportunities they deserve. And I probably should have written and respect that they deserve. So that's it.
Thank you, Jen. After Crystal is next, and after Crystal, Kaylee Bloom.
Hi, I'm Crystal Littlewood. I have a child in elementary school and a nephew in middle school. So I'm newer to the community. I came from Sacramento, where the white kids were the minority. But I feel like that kind of helped me to be a little more, I don't want to say tolerant, but more open-minded with my beliefs and my interactions and difference in cultures and everything like that. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Mormons, if you guys don't know our full name. And I can say that it is very difficult to have family members come out with our beliefs. We're very family-oriented, and we are we're learning, we're growing as a people. I do believe you're born one or the other, and I don't exactly agree with transgender and things like that. But my brother came out. One of my childhood friends has transitioned, and they're still who they are. They're still people. I do feel that things are getting a little crazy in the world, and I do feel that we need to protect our children. But I also would like you to put yourself in the shoes of the parents who are feeling this way, who are struggling with how it's fitting into their personal beliefs, with how they need to fit into the world. Everyone's scared for their kids. I was terrified for my brother. There was a lot happening the year that he came out. And I think the most important part is to not feed into the fear-mongering. There's a specific person I have in mind on Facebook who is very good at that, and we all have our beliefs. But I think the most important part for our kids is to let them know that we stand for them, we'll protect them, and we can be a safe space for them and for those that they know and they associate with. And so I kind of ask that when we do have these hard conversations, that we stand up and say, all right, let's get some facts. Let's not just stir up and go crazy. Persecution can happen in so many different forms, and everyone wants to find their place in the world. I think one of the biggest shocks with what I've come into for this conversation is that it felt like it was a blind side. And so I feel like if we have more open communication, if we can have the option to opt in or opt out, or things like that, where it's just not, nobody likes to be surprised on these hot topics. And I think if we can try and keep that open communication amongst all of us, so we can then prep our kids at home. And I really appreciate Lou saying how you do that with your kids. Coming to a smaller school, I'm adjusting. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you for your, thank you. Crystal is next, and, wait, that was Crystal, sorry. Kaylee is next, Andrea follows, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm a parent at the school. I'm also a substitute teacher, and over the past year, I've really gotten to know these kids in this community. What I'm hearing a lot of from opposing having this language at the school is that, I know a term that Abby specifically used was, it's so inclusive that you're starting to feel excluded, and which we wouldn't want at all. And with Avery not feeling comfortable or safe to be herself, it's almost like you're so represented that you don't even understand what representation is. The nuclear white Christian family is represented all over the school, and it should be, because there's a lot of kids that follow into that, their family looks like that. And that's great. You're in the posters, the storybooks, the libraries, the word problems. Like it's just, you're everywhere. And maybe this fear comes from just the small term saying, if you identify, has all of a sudden, like, a whole community came to almost like attack and deny these people, deny the non-binary students like existence almost. And so maybe feeling comfortable is a little bit different than feeling safe. And okay, but as I'm working with the students, it's really great being in a small school, because I'm here speaking about the students that we have, the community that's here, the students that are going here that say, hey, this is my pronoun. And I'm sorry, but we're not obsessed with their genitalia. Like, it doesn't matter. If they say, I want to be called he, then we accept them for who they are, because we're teaching them how to be respectful and kind, creative, intelligent members of the community, and not attacking them. And that includes straight Christian, we pledge to God. Like, it's, I don't know, they were just asking for a tiny little representation, because saying if you identify as, it's not pushing what you identify as, it's not pushing you should think about it, it's validating the kids that we have in the school, it's validating their siblings, it's validating their families at home. And this isn't hypothetical. We have a percentage of students that are non-binary that do represent that. So we're just like doing this little bit of representation of the kids that we actually have and that we actually care about. It's not hypothetical. Also, science, like, there's man and there's woman. Well, actually, there is a lot more of that science. Like, women bodies, they have shown that there are the testosterone receptors, and there's more, like, there are more science of non-binary and transgender too. So just all of it is kind of based off, like, I don't know, just being scared that maybe you'll be treated the way you've been taught to treat other people. I also don't know any of the non-binary students that would ever, like, try to block out people from being straight or cis or anything like that. They just want to be looked at for who they are and not their sex. Okay.
Thank you. Andrea is next, and then Mariah.
My name's Andrea. I hate public speaking. I'm very sorry. I'm very scared. I'm going to try my best. I went to school here from kindergarten through 12th grade, and I have a 10th grader here as well. At Mapleton, we have 154 students from preschool to 12th grade. Remember that number, 154 students. It is well known and documented that with a lot of evidence that can easily be found, that communities and schools who are inclusive and accepting to LGBTQ students have dramatically lower rates of youth suicide. Oh my God, I'm having such a hard time. This is so much scarier. Dramatically lower rates of youth suicide and suicide attempts than communities who are not. I want you all to think about your choice of words both tonight and in your day-to-day life, and ask yourself, do you conduct yourself in a way that helps lower the rates of youth suicide in your community? God, it gets me all choked up too, I'm sorry. What side of the statistic do you land on? Are you preventing or contributing to youth suicide rates in your community? I would like to commend the school board for doing everything they can to prevent that in our community, for being accepting and inclusive of all of our students, for making sure they feel valued, respected, and seen. It's okay. Nearly half of all LGBTQ youth reported seriously considering suicide in the past year. In America, one LGBTQ youth attempts suicide every 45 seconds. Every 45 seconds, one LGBTQ youth attempts suicide. In the 2 hours this meeting was scheduled for, over 160 kids and teens have attempted suicide in our country. In the 2 hours this meeting was scheduled for, the equivalent of our entire student body and a few extra have made the decision to end their lives. The truth is, this is a matter of life and death, and I hope we all understand the gravity and truly feel the weight of this situation. We don't have to be a part of that statistic. Oh my God, I'm such a baby. We can step up and be there for these kids. All it takes is the simple act of accepting them, just the way they are, and as they choose to be. I hope we can find a way to get through this with love in our hearts.
Thank you, Andrea. Mariah is next, and then Dana.
I'm Mariah. I went to school here in Mapleton from kindergarten through my senior year. I graduated in the year 2000. I live in Deadwood. As a mother of 6, with their ages ranging from 9 years old to 27, 3 of which who have attended Mapleton schools and 3 at Sayusa, I have a pretty unique perspective on our school systems. When I first started seeing the social media posts about our students being taught inappropriate subject matter, with sexuality and gender discussions being forced on our children, of course I was upset. But first, I went to my kids. I asked them what exactly was being taught and what these things mean to them. My 9-year-old, who's a 4th grader here, was able to explain to me that being inclusive means that there are going to be people who are different, and that he and his friends here at school are going to do their best to be kind, and that it is okay if their friends are different. He said how some kids don't have the same support at home, so he just wants to be a good friend. When I asked him about how some kids identify differently, he said, yeah, that's a thing. That's just how it is. We don't judge them. Further into our conversation, I realized that in 4th grade, none of the things I read in the social media post were actually being taught. And I now had a kid with a whole bunch of questions. So, with the help of his older sibling, we were able to answer many of his questions to define some of the things he was asking. I was then able to ask my 8th grader about what they are learning regarding inclusivity, gender, sexuality, etc. They said surprisingly little is actually taught here regarding those things. We looked over some of their old vocabulary worksheets that were discussed as a minor part of one class. To me, it was all age appropriate and definitely relevant to the world our kids are growing up in. I can appreciate that the middle school students are given the dictionary and textbook definitions of these concepts so they aren't clueless and then made to make their own assumptions from what they see on social media. Honestly, I'm grateful that the school is teaching the kids to be kind and accepting of each other. It's hard enough just growing up in today's world. I appreciate that this school is making sure all these kids are supported regardless of their differences. Anytime I've been concerned with the content or curriculum here at the Mapleton School District, the teachers and staff, along with my kids, have always been willing to share the information so I can be aware of what's being taught. Anytime I've had questions regarding anything that's going on in the school, I ask my kids or their friends. I generally get more information than I want, but I also hear their perspectives, and that is most important in my opinion. I encourage everyone to take what's said on social media with a grain of salt, have real conversations with our students and the school, and when we have questions regarding curriculum, this school has always been transparent when I ask direct questions about what my children are being taught. I appreciate the school board for having these sessions so we can voice our concerns and have these conversations.
Thank you, Mariah. And Danelle. Hi, I'm Danelle Sundstrom, and I went to school here and graduated a couple years ago. And I have a 9-year-old here. My brother went here, and multiple other family and friends. And I didn't come prepared to speak, but I was all of a sudden called to, so I added my name. I don't really want to talk about what we're talking about. I want to talk about the community. And I'll probably cry, so I'm already crying. I came to school here as one of those hippie kids from Deadwood in a time when it was very different than it is here now. It was early 80s, there was a booming logging community, and most of the people at this school were part of this Mapleton logging community. Their parents were loggers. There was a few of us far in between, enough to fill a bus to come down from Deadwood and come to school here, and we did. And it wasn't always easy being on the outside, coming into a very tight-knit community of generations that had been here for years and years, and Deadwood was a new thing, and the people there weren't from here. My friends who grew up here, their parents went to school here, their grandparents went to school here, a lot of them. And here we were with new people coming to the area and learning to fit into a very different place, coming from very different backgrounds. But we managed to survive and to thrive together and to fall in love with each other and to be successful here as a community through the years. And it wasn't easy, and it was still a hard place to be and to be different in. But the thing that kept us together was the school. And so for me, this whole thing is very sad in that what feels to be tearing the community apart right now is happening at the school. Because that is always what kept our families together, what kept our upriver communities together with our downriver communities, the sports, all the things that happened right here in these buildings. And it's just really sad to me that now at the school, it seems to be being torn apart right here in the same place that's always been a togetherness place. And back in February, when the high school teams were in the playoffs, it was the most amazing feeling to be sitting in that gym and feeling this like support of Sailor basketball and community like we have for, generations and generations. And so quickly, I just feel like that kind of just burst into this, now we're over here and you're over here, and all this differentiating of opinion. And so I just wanted to say that this community has always been strong. We've made it through lots of heartaches, hard things, beautiful things, and I hope we can do that now as a strong community.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment, unless someone, yes.
I'm Mary Lou Robichaud. I'm very much a newcomer to this area. I've only been here about 12 years. I do not have any children who go to this school. I do volunteer here, and I really value hearing what everyone has to say. And it seems like in the past, the children got along good together, and they kind of brought the elders together because of the cohesiveness of the school population. And right now, it seems as though the school population is accepting and is getting along together. And I just hope that that health of the school population can bring the elders together to a better, loving understanding of everybody. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other okay?
I don't want to go for it. I don't have anything prepared either, and I'm probably going to be shaking voice when I just saw that. It's okay. I'm Heidi Sunstrom, Danelle's cousin, and also I work here as an aide in the middle high school level. I also have a child, a daughter, who's a third grader. I started out in the preschool, and then this year was my first year over here at the middle high school. And we've got some great kids, that's for sure. And, you know, I think the bottom line, being there for them is why we're all here, I think, because we care about them, we care about their well-being, and we want to support them and make them feel seen, because, I mean, that's huge, to just kind of feel like, you know, you're shut out, you're not accepted for just being who you are. I mean, that's just kind of a basic thing. And it all kind of boils down to respect, I think, on both sides. It's a two-way street. You know, it's not fair to demand respect when you're not willing to give it. And also, I will just say that we have students here that identify as non-binary that have transferred here from other districts because they felt bullied in other schools, and they feel safe here at Mapleton. And they are some of the most wonderful kids, and I've talked to parents who just say they love that their child is thriving. I've seen them walking down the halls, just bouncing around. They're just completely in their element, and it's really, really nice to see. And it makes me sad that I feel like, you know, they would ever face any kind of adversity just for being who they are. So that's kind of all I have to say, that we have some really wonderful kids, and I hope that the community can also come together and support them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any clarifying questions? I said we check in with every group. Are there any clarifying questions from the board? Or this is clarifying questions right now, not discussion. Anybody?
I was just gonna, for fairness, I was just gonna have you say the same thing that you said at the last meeting when a particular board member was called out. And you said, you know, we're not gonna be calling out specific board members. That was just said at the last one, and then I was just for fairness.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to call out any specific board members. I think I did that because there was finger pointing.
I'm sorry, I came here prepared to as a response to the board meeting, so I just meant responding in that word phrase, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I did say Mary was my wife, and I didn't mean that as an insult.
How dare you call me out, Jesse?
I'm just saying for fairness, because it was said at the last meeting, and so it wasn't said.
Okay.
Yeah,
This has kind of been, I've been wondering, what exactly is it that people want the school to do? I'm not pointing finger, but what is the change that you want to happen? I'm just a little bit.
Me specifically?
No, not you specifically.
I can tell you what
what do we want, what do they want us to stop doing? I don't even know, maybe we can do some of it, I don't know, what is it?
Well, I think actually, it's been said, it was said this morning that there's a discomfort with gender inclusive language.
Okay.
So that's something that's being asked of us. And from everybody's testimony, we're going to come together as a board. We're going to get a recommendation from our superintendent, because that's why we hired her.
And am I correct that that's the process on any issue?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. I'm stating that more.
Yeah, so we will get a recommendation, and then we, as a board, will have to discuss it, and we don't all agree, it's clear. So it will be a difficult meeting. We will conduct ourselves respectfully, as we always do, because this isn't the first time we've had a difficult conversation. And then we will vote on the recommendation. But
I've been trying to get that too and write down things that I think I'm hearing that
I mean, I
people
just
actually
don't know,
want
like,
changed,
what
you
is
know,
the
or-
end goal on both sides of this debate? I don't understand, like, what changes are we after here?
yeah, and I think that will come out at the meeting when we get a recommendation, because then it will be specifics. I mean, the specifics that I hear today from the people who are uncomfortable with the way that we're doing things is that the gender inclusive language that's what this meeting's about. I mean, there's plenty of things that people don't like that are going on at the school. All of us have things, this is not a perfect place. But tonight, we were focusing on gender inclusive language.
But I was thinking like, the things I was pulling out were communication, like improving communication ahead of time so that people aren't surprised and.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, there were two hands that went up. Did you first, I saw that first.
I do have a question, I don't mind all that. Oh, I can answer, or.
You can answer my question?
So I'm hearing like this is just about gender inclusive language. Like if there's a boy that feels like he's a girl, you guys are saying, hey, we're gonna call him a girl and go along with that. What about if a 15-year-old boy says he wants to play girls basketball? Are you guys gonna allow that? That's the things I'm concerned about, really, is like, because nationally this is where this keeps going. Or if a 15-year-old boy decides he wants to go into the girls' locker room, are you guys gonna just support that because that's what he feels like? That's where my concern is.
And those have been discussed and answered in the previous two meetings that we've had.
I actually feel like they weren't answered. It was just chalked up to, well, we would come up with those practices as that happens.
Yeah, I think it was more that those haven't happened yet and we will have to think about that. But I think what will be the next questions and steps is past this language agreement or situation we figure out is going to be all of those next things. And that's exactly where we're headed right after this, I think, so.
I remember you answering the question.
Yeah, and there is state guidance, like I'll speak to sports, like OSAA runs those guidelines, not Mapleton, right? So if it's a sport there, sorry, I lost the question, but 15-year-old boy wants to play girls basketball, yes, like if they're, and it can't just be like on a whim, right? I woke up and decided I want to be on the girls team. It needs to match their gender expression in the school. And I think in our league, I wasn't here a few years ago, but my understanding is that we have experienced that in our league, right? And
it has been in our league, but hasn't been in our school. I think the question I know as a mom I have, which I think is where he's leading to, correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, it's guided by OSAA, but we're wondering what our school would do and if we have any thoughts. And I'm speaking as a mom right now, I don't care if it's right or wrong, but if we have any opportunity to state how we feel about it. I agree with Abby, I did not feel like there was an answer. It was, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I know I paid attention because I have a daughter in high school, who I fear that being an issue will face. So I do think it's something we have to consider. I'm not happy with just saying OSA says it's fine and that's what we're gonna do. But I'd fight that the whole way.
Can I do it again?
Can we hold on, because I want to make sure Danelle had a question first, but Sue, is there anything else process-wise with that to address right now?
I think what I've probably the best spot here is to like give me time to fully articulate like what those rules are and what the district role is in there.
And I do agree that this is beyond what we're trying to discuss now.
I'll call
in a future
OSAA and
situation.
say, hey, what happens or has happened or would happen if a school refused, and I'll get that answer and bring it to the next meeting when we debrief, is that the right word? Yeah, these questions. So I feel better prepared to like fully answer, like, do we have a say in it? Being able to talk to OSAA first. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Well, that's kind of my question for clarifying. It's like, this isn't entirely up to our school board to make these decisions, right? It's federal coming down from a different level for all of this. So we can't just sit here and say, hey, we're in Mapleton, we don't want to do that. Right, that's what I'm asking, right?
Right,
There's
but
guidelines. So
there are guidelines, but we have done some things that we think we could have done better, like being more transparent, giving very clear direction to parents so that they know what's going on, finding ways for kids, making sure parents know they can opt their kids out of sex education if they want. You know, there are things that I think we have not communicated well. We haven't telegraphed that information well. So
that's what's trying to happen out of
that's
partially
part of it for sure. And more, I mean, Sue is she's our doctor, so she's gonna write us a prescription and we'll figure out from that, you know, if we agree with her or if we can tweak it.
But there are things with inclusivity that we have to do as a school, correct?
Yeah, and I'll
Because
just,
of the nation.
I'll draw attention back to the
Okay, I didn't.
federal laws, and will you make sure Danelle has a copy of that?
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I missed that.
Yeah, Danelle, I think that might be what you're missing there. So this has both federal and state laws and protections, and in all reality, what I'm gonna do is call OSAA and say, I'm positive this is played out, right, in the state at some point, so I will ask what the takeaways are, right? And so here are the repercussions, here is where students are, a protected class, and why these decisions are. I'll bring that back in a coherent answer.
Okay, I think in order, if it's a clarifying question, we're next, and Shannon, so, clarifying question.
It's not, it's a little bit of a clarifying answer. But there's supervisors in that locker room.
Okay, clarifying information. Go ahead and say that
Okay.
then.
Just about the locker rooms, there are supervisors in the locker room, and they're.
No, there's not. No, there's not. My daughter's on the team, so there's not. There was never when I was in school.
At PE, is that just middle school? During the school day for PE, there's an employee, female employee in the female locker room and a male employee in the male locker room. And all the employees have like super in-depth background checks. But so there are supervisors and non-binaries. There's the single-use bathrooms that they use.
Right. But not during, they aren't supervised in there during gate sports.
Yeah, so just the school.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I have a clarifying question, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I heard two parents talk about, Avery's comments, and then Mariah talked with her children, and so I'm just wondering about how the students, not that they line up, but where if a student feels threatened or not appreciated for being straight versus, someone getting a lot of attention for being, different, claiming a different gender or whatever. So those are questions I have. How does the student population feel? What are they going through with this? And I'm, definitely think kids have to feel safe and appreciated. Every kid in the school, no matter how they choose, to identify. So that was, I'm glad that I could hear what Avery was feeling and also what Mariah talking to her children.
I can share, I'm not holding it, but the input form with the,
The questionnaire one.
Yeah, so follow-up plan, because we knew not everybody's gonna be able to make whatever day this is, April 5th, 7th, I don't know, April something. And so the plan is to send this set of prompts out as well to, through our parent square to, to parents, staff, and students. And when I say students, in this specific case, that'll go to 7 through 12, and not necessarily our elementary students. However, if any family wants to work with elementary students on this, we would certainly take their input, right? But it's not gonna be like, hey, fill this form out and tell us that. And then on that email out, we'll have a date, hey, submit by this time, and that's what'll go into the public record packet that'll be shared to the board prior to the next meeting. So, and that last, I was gonna say last period, I feel like I'm a teacher right now. Last meeting, listening session this morning, there were questions about, whether those would be public document, and all the submitted, basically for boards, everything documentation has to be open public law, and so those will be kind of in a packet that's available in the board drop-down agendas, that you can see those comments for yourself, right? Not every single one will get read into the record in that meeting, but they'll be there for reference that community could look through them, so.
Yeah, so the only like exception to that would be, like, we wouldn't want students like names, you know, like, yeah, like, so I guess we would screen them for that kind of thing to make sure that it wasn't, that like,
minors or
that might,
Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that.
Connie, I saw a hand up.
I just have a question. I think Mariah said there's 154 kids, or Andy, 154. How many are we talking about that identify as something other than male or female? Out of the 154.
I'm gonna take that question, and I'm gonna preface with it might feel unanswered, just so you know. But we don't collect that information about students, and so that's not an easy. It's not a question I can give an accurate answer to. What I will say, before I was here, so the previous administration, there's a belonging survey that was given at the end of the year to middle school and high school students, and there were 26 responses. So already that's a percentage of the whole group in that first year. And there's a set of like self-identifying for race, ethnicity, and LGBTQ status. I might be forgetting something else in that question. And I looked back at that the other day. I should pull this up before I quote the answer, but I want to say of those 26, it was like 20% of that group self-identified as LGBTQ. Now, that's both sexuality and gender, which conflates all this really, messy, and so I'm not going to guess at which one for which kid, right? That same survey was given last year, and more students responded to that, and I believe it was 15% of students' responses self-identified as LGBTQ. In the state of Oregon, in the state plan, they say that about 11% of students in the there's a students' health survey that's conducted kind of Oregon-wide, and at 6th, 8th, and 11th, it's like 11 or 12% who self-identify as LGBTQ. So again, that doesn't answer gender, right, versus sexuality, but we're in that realm. Based on the data I have, we're in that realm. And then also I can share, and I don't go to this, I don't count kids, I don't know the answer, but we do at middle school, high school have a Gay Straight Alliance club, and is an affinity space, but you can be an ally and show up in that space, so I don't presume people's gender identity or sexuality who I know participate in that. So kind of, hopefully that helps with that answer, and we're not collecting that. So it's a hard answer to question. Yeah.
Okay. Just last comment.
So the survey that you said you sent out, did the kids have a choice to do that? Did they have a choice to opt out of that and not say, hey, I'm...
Yeah, so it's a belonging survey. I know the first
Did they know
year
that though? Did they know that they could opt out of
Absolutely,
that? Or did they
and
feel
on
like
that,
they needed to?
and on that question, so yes, and on that question, it also says prefer not to answer. So there's both, I can pull that question up and look at it closer, but one of the choices is prefer not to answer, and there are students who selected that answer.
Were parents notified that that survey went out? Or?
I can't speak to...
I think my group of kids took that survey, and parents got a letter and could opt out, and I think, like, the first question on the survey, and I hope I'm talking about the right one, but I think I am, was like, do you want to take this survey? And if they said no, they were done. I think it feels right.
There's two different, so I referenced two surveys here and there are multiple. So the first, I believe
and so you said those were under the previous administration?
The first time was, and then we reshared it, and that was set. So Clara, I believe the one you're speaking to is the statewide Oregon Health Authority's health survey, because they give that at 6th, 8th, and 11th. And that's very much shared over and over to parents and all those things, and has those. And then the belonging survey has a set of questions. I'll print that out and share it too on there. And that was given to, I actually don't know if 6th graders participated in that. I'd have to look over.
I might have had the wrong one.
Yeah,
So
like
7 through 12.
7 through 12.
Yeah,
7 through 12 for sure. I'd have to look to see if there's 6th grade data on that.
Yeah, if a letter was sent out to parents, I'll take that too.
Yeah, and what I'll share is those results have been shared in board meetings with board members, both years. Yeah, on that.
Those exist in our notes.
Okay. Thank you all. We're at the 5-minute cutoff, unless it's something that's, you have a concise question for them. Do you have a?
Yeah, I do have a concise question.
Okay.
So if a boy does say he wants to play girls' sports and he's gonna go into the girls' locker room and dress down and do all that, what if the girls don't feel comfortable? Are they protected? I feel like there's all this law to say, hey, we're gonna protect you because you're different, you haven't been treated equally or whatever, but what happens if a girl's just really uncomfortable with having a boy in the locker room with her? Like, is she protected? What protects her?
I'm gonna say that's not a concise answer on my end and add it to my response in terms of sports and locker rooms together. So just for time's sake.
Yeah. I just want you guys to think about that. Please.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you all for your questions and comments and the things you shared. Thank you to the board members for your time here, and to Sue. And I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, who has the closing comments.
I got on this board a million years ago. I was the only, back when Connie was here, I was the only woman on a 7-member board, young, from upriver. It was all Mapleton guys, they all knew each other. I wasn't welcomed in. I was a bit, I would come home and feel so invisible. I would talk to my husband and say, I don't know if I can do this. And, but I didn't give up. And I stayed in it. And those guys became my friends. And that's what I love about this community. We stayed here. We put our roots down here. We sat in the gym together. Back then it was the rednecks and the hippies. And as Danelle was saying, it wasn't cohesive. But over time, our kids were the diplomats. Our kids are the ones who made this happen here. And they brought us all together. And those kids would come to my house and eat whole wheat bread. And my kids would go to their house and eat white bread. And it was a beautiful kind of, it was like cultural exchange, you know? we can do this here. We don't have to divide our community about anything. We're gonna have hard conversations and we're gonna come out stronger and more committed to this community because this really is the center. The school is the center. And while I can look at my board members who I know don't agree with me on certain subjects, I have just nothing but love and respect. This is a real thing, and I'm learning as I do this. And like I said, I've been at it a long time. We have more in common than that which separates us. I know that to be true. And I mean, I think we're journeying together. And we're honing our rough edges and just getting closer and more real as people. So thank you all for showing up. Clearly, we all care. That's why we're here. And we're not going to stop caring, and we're not going to stop putting the kids first. So thanks. Get thoughts on how this goes down because from my perspective, I think I would have liked to ask this one, but last year, what I stopped doing my 3-hour meeting. Yeah, it would have been long. Hopefully we're not gonna have a lot of these.
These chairs need to be put away?
We will take care of them. Thank you.
I just want to know how people felt about starting my satisfied or I don't know, maybe you should leave it. Or what can we do?
I think, you know, at the last meeting, well, maybe not the last board meeting, because I wasn't there, but the one before that, we had kind of approved, not agreed, I guess, but talked about more board, discussion back and forth. And I don't think that was granted very much. I think in order for people to feel heard and listened to, they have to get a response back in a way. And I don't think maybe everybody's happy that we have to wait a whole month now to hear back. It feels a little bit like, once again, like we washed our hands of it and we're done. You know?
So you think if it had been a longer meeting?
I agree with the bigger meeting, longer. Everybody here at once, longer. Which sucks, you know, but, you know.
I just like that it was able to be different groups of people here and the different times of meeting up because that was how they can fit it into their day. And I don't want, like, one meeting allows for less of that.
But yeah, I do feel like, yeah, that was, being respectful to this day and stuff. You know, it's hard to meet every single expectation for everybody, so.
I mean, I don't mind that we did it in two, that's fine. Even kids here. You wanna come on? We had more discussion part, the back and forth. I feel like this was a little bit more like, I mean, it was precise. So I don't mind the two separate meetings. I do look at like the needs of community members or work schedules or whatever. I was looking forward to more communication back and forth. But I feel like, and I don't know if anyone is really that happy or not, by the way they had to speak to us. I mean, that was their time, they feel like cut off, but you have to have some logistics of how you gotta do it. I get it, you know, they went here for 5 hours for one session. I mean, I took notes of every person's thoughts so that I can look back on it and stuff. I mean, I think one big meeting would have been a little yeah.
Well, I don't know details, I don't know.
You work for you, Mary? But I do want to respect, I want to explore that families. I don't really have anything. That's.
All right.
I thought you did a good job of, you know, I have a hard time being like, stop talking, you know, just like, you know, so I think you did, yeah, you did a good job of, you know.
And then having like an agenda, creating just like discussing the guidelines ahead of time, stuff like that. That helps the meeting run more or less to time and stuff like that with this very respectful. So I appreciate having sort of a process like that.
And also that the process was a little flexible, because we learned something from this morning and kind of changed those.
That's what I was gonna say, is the flexibility to say, okay, based on, now we tried it, now let's tweak it.
All right.
Just I was just thinking, like, if it's a long meeting and some people can't get there at 10, they end up coming in and out of a long meeting, and I think we might land in the same spot where it feels disjointed, because you're not here for the intro, and you didn't hear that one question, and can I have that form, and can I have this, and so there's I hadn't thought about that before.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I was thinking we'd save time, because we'd have one intro, we'd have one presentation about the law, there'd be one, these are the ground rules, we'd save that time. But I can appreciate that a longer meeting has its drawbacks.
It's not considered invasive anymore, it's considered.
Okay, Carl.
Maybe next time, I don't know, for a Zoom thing, like people can zoom in if they wanted, if they can't make it here. Maybe that way they could still say what they wanted to say.
Oh, that's actually a really.
I don't like Zoom, but you know.
Yeah.
It's out there now, it's there.
I do like, I like that, it's harder to manage in a room, and it's not, like, it's a good idea also. I really like the opportunity for written comment, like, we had a number of people put their thoughts down and get, kind of orient their thoughts, and some of them shared, but some of them also handed it in on the way out. I think this group mostly spoke, but my guess is a few more forms might get turned in, and then, like, we had a student turn one in after they left. So I like hey, this was the spot to kind of publicly share, but I think there's quite a few people who were tuned in and watching today, and the opportunity to kind of formulate thoughts based on what they heard, and so that I think will be important.
Very cool. I think the Zoom part is a good idea. I was just in a meeting recently with quite a few people, and there was a screen up here.
Yeah.
And people were zooming in, so that just felt
Yeah, hybrid meeting is easy. I mean, it's not easy, but
It's doable.
It's doable, yeah. When we do them at United Way all the time, and other spaces that I live in.
Everybody's starting to get good at it.
Yeah.
Not me. Where do I look?
I don't like that.
I don't even know where to look when I'm doing it, I'm like.
But everyone does that, so it's okay.
I don't look at myself.
I like it when you're on there like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have to turn my camera off because my internet sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody has to see my face.
How about the guy that turned his face into a cat?
That's my favorite. It makes me laugh. I'm just like, I don't know what I did.
I promise it's me.
There are like 3 things that make me laugh so hard I can't control myself.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.